Welcome to the Digital Work Practices Project. This is a collaboration of RMIT University, the Queensland University of Technology and University of Technology Sydney.
The aims of the project were to understand the importance of digital capabilities for graduates seeking employment in industry and to develop a learning framework that helped students to develop those digital capabilities throughout their time at university. To do this, we used data from 6 different sources. We used literature and graduate data, student survey data and analytics, teacher reflections, and we also looked at data from a survey of higher education professionals and from industry representatives gathered through roundtables run across the country.
The learning model we've developed as a rapid prototype is an attempt to translate industry requirements into a learning and teaching practice scenario so that we can support our students to improve their employment prospects and be ready for digital work, whatever that might be.
The affordance model we're using in this project treats technology as an interaction. You have an object with features and you have the user who has to make use of those features to achieve an outcome. And what we say is that those interactions are of different types or of increasing complexity. So at the bottom level of our scaffold, we have what we call functional affordances, which are those interactions necessary just to make a technology work, to switch it on, to make it do what it is meant to do. You can start to operate at our second level, which we call the perceptual level of interaction. And that really involves using that technology in an efficient way to achieve some outcomes that you desire. At the top level, what we're aiming for is what we refer to as adaptive interaction. Adaptive interaction is really either reimagining how you can use the technology to make it work better within the context that you are operating, or imagining new contexts of use for an existing technology. So that's the level of interaction that we're aiming for in our scaffold.
As an educator in creative industries, we're constantly speaking with industry. So what's coming through really loud and clear is that they're hungry for graduates who are really able to engage with not just those practical everyday affordances that are functional in terms of how they're able to operate digital technology and digital capabilities, but also in terms of adaptive affordances. So how can they take technology, how can they take software and systems and programs and adapt them to uses that we hadn't considered and perhaps they hadn't considered to date? That adaptability and that keenness to use technology in new ways is something that industry is really, really hungry for. It's something that as educators we really need to think about training our students to do.
We developed 5 sample digital capabilities descriptors in the project. And so those 5 spanned 4 different disciplines, and we did one discipline from a couple of different approaches, that was music industry. So what the digital capabilities descriptors do is they take the industry roundtable data, they also take the data that we collected, using the Educator workshops and some of the other data we collected, and also the literature. And what they do is they organise different capabilities around domains. So for example, in journalism, we had coding, we had statistics, we had internal communication, and they allowed educators to actually start to work out which capabilities are functional, which are perceptual, which are adaptive, and from that point you can start to develop a teaching strategy. And the really important part about it is that educators are able to make that teaching strategy, i.e. that we're using an affordance model, explicit to students, so they're aware of how they're learning and they're also aware of how they can reflect on that.
Encouraging that kind of reflection in class as a shared activity is a really important thing to find the time in the classroom space to do. And I think doing it just once at the start of semester probably isn't enough. Doing it twice probably isn't enough either. It has to be a part of the classroom ambience the whole time, I think. That you're learning content, but also you're learning how to work together as a team.
What students do in the course is that they go through the various stages of being able to research and understand a customer and a need, ideate a solution for that, and then test whether actually people do want that. Is there a sustainable business model around that? And so they get introduced to a whole lot of concepts and techniques around design thinking and lean startup skills, and they practice that in class with an exercise, but then they have to go off and they have to go and find real people to actually interact with and test things out in real life.
What's also really important though is the crucial critical thinking skills that really underpin students being able to engage with and develop those digital capabilities. From an industry perspective, this is something that's really expected and desired from our students that they have.
My name is Sam Malcolm. I studied a Bachelor of Design Digital Media at RMIT. I've now been working for 2 years in the field. I'm a full stack web developer. I work with JavaScript and PHP and HTML and CSS and many other web technologies. Coming straight from studying at university, when you're given an assignment, you're given an explicitly clear brief of what's expected from you. And it can have that level of clarity and specificity because the person giving it to you has a very, very clear understanding of what's possible within the space that you're studying. And when you get into industry, a lot of the times people don't know what's possible with your skill set or how it can solve problems that they're having. So your ability to find and articulate solutions using your skill set to other people who didn't even know that those solutions were possible is really important, and it's something that you learn, I guess, only through being in the industry.
It's really about helping them to develop that self-awareness, because at the end of the day, we can channel them to their first opportunities, but then, we're not there. And so they need to be able to actually learn the skills of being able to recognize that and to be able to keep recognizing that, and to be able to also see, okay, well, if there isn't this perfect fit, what's my agency in that? What can I do to change that?
So for example, at the moment I'm working on building a web tool which automates quite a laborious part of someone else's job. And that was a solution that I articulated to my manager. So it's very rewarding to find a purpose there and a solution there that you can really help other people as well, and that's going to free up their time to partake in more creative and more interesting parts of their roles as well, which is very rewarding.
So across the project, we've collected data from educators, industry, from graduate data sources, and we've translated that into a series of reports that are available on the project website. We also have on the project website an explanation of the model and a series of resources for educators and academic developers or learning designers that can actually help them translate the model into different teaching practices. So some of the resources that you'll find on the website include the sample digital capabilities descriptors, which help show how you can translate the affordance model into different disciplines. You'll also find on the website a workshop facilitators guide. So if you're an instructional designer or an academic developer, you could actually run a workshop at your institution that explains the model and takes you through the process of developing digital capabilities descriptors with the participants in the workshop. So it kind of gives you everything you need to do that. We also have educator reflections. So some of the people in the project have adapted their curriculum to using the affordance model, and other educators in the project have designed learning activities using the affordance model as well. And you'll find the case studies and reflections from those people as well. So we really hope that you find those resources helpful, and if you want to discuss the project further, you'll find the contact details for the project leader on the website as well.